following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Welcome to PWR Sudden Impact Radio, breaking down all that happened on tonight's Impact Wrestling broadcast on Spike TV. Sudden Impact Radio is on the air.
Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to Sudden Impact Radio on Blog Talk Radio, the man they call me Dead, joined as always by the real Matthew Thomas, the real M. Thomas, excuse me. I know that you're the real Matthew Thomas, but I want them to know what your Twitter handle is as well. Boy, I'm excited from Impact, Matthew. I can't keep myself under control.
Yeah, what a very interesting way to go off the air and lead us into Turning Point.
I thought it was fantastically done. You have your main event, your heavyweight championship, the top part of your show, closing out the show. You've got the challenger in the ring, calling out the champion. Champion says, you know what, we got a pay-per-view this Sunday. It's go time. So runs out there, a little back and forth. Hardy standing tall on the ladder, and good camera work. Do you hear me? Good camera work from TNA Wrestling does not show the audience at home that Austin Aries will knock out Jeff Hardy off the ladder, and Austin Aries places the ladder over Jeff Hardy and climbs to the top and brings down the belts. How did you think, and how did you feel that went over the close of Impact tonight?
I thought it was a very fitting way to go off the air on the go-home show before pay-per-view. Pretty much a very similar way to the way we went home with the go-home show with Aries cutting the promo there at the end prior to Bound for Glory. And I don't know if there's anybody better in the company or honestly anybody better in professional wrestling right now to be on that mic at the very end of your go-home show to try to sell that pay-per-view. So I thought it was very well done. He definitely brought his A-game tonight. And like you said, good camera work there at the end and a pretty stiff little fall it looked like Hardy took off the ladder. So it seemed like it all came together very well there. And I think we may have gotten the answer to a question that I've been wondering since the ladder match was announced. It looks like we are going to have both belts hoisted high above the ring come Sunday.
Not only did we get that answered by both belts being in the ring, we got it answered by Austin Aries talking about what he was going to do to the little fancy Jeff Hardy belt. He's going to win back the real belt. He's going to take your little fancy belt, and I'm going to melt it down to a belt buckle. What do you think of that? Fantastic promo.
We know that Aries knows how to party. We saw him, bring the balloons and the cookies, I believe, a few weeks ago to Hardy's party. Can you imagine what an Austin Aries-sponsored celebration party would look like? Now that he's set that stage, I mean, you really want to see it happen. You really want to see him melt the belt down and have this tiny little mini Jeff Hardy belt on the belt buckle. Yeah, I thought it was very well done, and it really... That image there, right there, with Aries in the ring and his celebration party, really makes you want to see them, maybe put the belt on Aries just to get that payoff, just to get the payoff for the big Aries celebration there.
Yeah, I think so too. And folks, we jumped right into it because we were so excited. But let's handle a little business. If you want to interact with the program tonight, the number to call in 347-996-5278 or toll free at 877-317-9772. Plus, if you use the hashtag Sudden Impact Radio, you got a chance to interact with us on Twitter and possibly have your tweet read. Also, don't forget the Chatosphere. Chatosphere is wide open, and it is up and running. Make sure you head on over there. A party as always. Very happy with the way the show closed out. I guess in retrospect, and we talked a little bit about it, the Pro Wrestling Report, that is, we talked about it this last Monday on the Meltdown. When they opened the show, I felt like I was watching Raw, only because we've seen that before. We've seen the way they open Raw now, and they open Raw the way Impact's been opening for months and months. So, but right now, TNA has the advantage because they do it better.
Yeah, they do it better, and they've got originality on their side. And that's one thing with these intros like that they did they did first, and as long as they were the first ones to go that route, they're still +1 in my book.
Yeah, and again, like I said, they've got the advantage of consistently doing it over and over. So they are the ones doing that better. How would I have ever thought, would you have ever thought, that TNA consistently on a week-to-week basis right now in that aspect is beating out WWE?
No, I wouldn't have it. And I'll be honest with you, overall, TNA most weeks at this point feels like a tighter show. Since Raw is going to 3 hours, there's a lot of good qualities about having a 3-hour format where you can get matches in, especially mid-card matches that would not have gotten the light of day in the past. But overall, from week to week, just the presentation, as far as the conciseness, it just feels like it's, for lack of a better word, just an overall tighter show than Raw, which the last few weeks honestly feels like those 3 hours feel like every bit of 3 hours.
And a chore. And again, folks, this just because this is an Impact review show doesn't mean that we also are a WWE bashing program as well. But I will say this, kind of in closing to wrap this topic up, I have enjoyed watching. I'm glad that we at the Pro Wrestling Report decided we were going to do this post-show because, I've seen the bad of TNA. And to be honest, the last year and a half, I have loved watching Impact. Some nights it has felt like a chore as well, but 3 hours of Raw every week, I cannot tell you going back one that I liked, and I can tell you consistently just about every week, and maybe with a miss here and there, but I have enjoyed watching Impact and enjoyed talking to you folks about it as well. And I do want to go out to Twitter here. The True Ryan Roberts at True Ryan Roberts. Ryan Roberts says a nice little Austin Aries knock on Punk. Boy, I can't wait to see what happens on Raw now. Yeah, Austin Aries in his promo did say, this seems to be the catchy thing to do. Talk about how you're the best in the world at this, or I'm the best in the this and that. He's the greatest man that ever lived. Austin Aries, what a nice tiny little shot as well.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe we'll get a little bit of feedback on Raw again this week. That seems to kind of be par for the course. Week to week with a little bit of adjusting back and forth with the different brands, whether it be some elevator footage or whether it be the opening of the segment. There seems to be, I hesitate to say it, but there seems to be a little bit of dialogue between the two companies at times. So who knows where that will end up? And we know that Punk and Aries do go back a ways, so maybe we'll get a little
way away. It's a long ways away. Yes.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a little Aries joust and a Punk promo here in the near future.
Quite possibly. Folks, that is the way Impact felt to us. Now we're going to do a quick rundown of Impact, match by match and segment by segment. Let's talk about it here. Of course, we got the previously on Impact Wrestling recap, as we do get every week. And it's the announcement that the World Heavyweight Championship match at the pay-per-view this Sunday, the Turning Point pay-per-view, will be a ladder match. Also, there is going to be a three-way match between AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, and James Storm, with the person getting pinned being froze out of the title picture until Bound for Glory 2013. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I love the fact that they have a stipulation that, and I got a feeling TNA is going to hold to it. They have a stipulation that will really be a turning point for someone's career.
It adds something to the match, and it adds, most importantly, a story coming out of the match. It gives some character development that you can actually use, somebody can use within the next year to really build up whatever they're trying to get at. And that's the thing of it is as I'm watching Styles and Roode tonight, and as they're building the matchup, that's the constant thought that's in your mind is, okay, who's going to get the pinfall, and what's going to come out of that? Is it going to be one of the two faces in the match, and is the fact that they're not going to be able to have a title match for another year, is that going to result in a heel turn for somebody? And you find yourself just cycling through the different possibilities, and I don't know if there's anything finer right there than the intrigue that builds towards selling your pay-per-view.
Yeah, again, fantastic build. We also did open up the show with, and he doesn't have a name yet, but the lead guy, or the lead man, whoever the one that does most of the talking for the aces and eights is literally just lighting up Luke Gallows. And Luke Gallows, by the way, folks, will no longer be referred to as Luke Gallows. His name is Doc. He's the Director of Chaos. So, DOC. He's Doc, Director of Chaos. But it's Luke Gallows, and Luke Gallows looked like he was going to cry. Maybe somebody should have hit the ring bell and, and lit up, woke him up. Bing! Again,
but it does
something I miss it. But, Devon suggests that they take up Hogan's match offer and write that wrong. Doc says he's going to make the things right tonight. So they head into the Impact Zone, and they really start off with an amazing match. It's AJ Styles, and it's Bobby Roode. And at the commentary table, a man who's quote-unquote scouting is the Cowboy, James Storm. How did you feel this match went over and the interaction and, not so much interference, but James Storm interacting with Bobby Roode, causing AJ Styles, quote-unquote, the match?
Anytime you put Styles and Roode in the ring together, you're going to have a stellar match, and this was absolutely no different. As far as Storm's contribution, I really like the fact you had him and Styles build up a little bit of tension there towards the end. I think the thing that most people think about is still Roode Storm, which this match, as good of a match as it's going to be, it still concerns me a little bit this early coming out of the Roode Storm feud to have them two go into any type of match together in your next pay-per-view. So I did like the fact that you had a little bit of tension between Styles and Storm there to kind of maybe take your mind off of the whole Roode Storm thing that we've been seeing for the last year. So overall, thought it went over very well, and it kind of opened some doors for maybe a couple of other elements that you're not really quite focusing on.
Great match. I struggle a little bit with the commentary. Remember, we got the new team now for the first hour. It's JB and again, the guy's name slips my mind. And he's becoming Todd Henley, I believe. He's becoming forgettable, to be honest with you. And he kept on, if we were having a drinking game, where he would say, "Gentlemen," or when JB or Henley referred to him as Storm. You know what, Storm? You know what, Storm? Just call him the Cowboy, man. That's the Cowboy, James Storm. You know what, Storm? I was bothered by the commentary in that match.
Yeah, it certainly, I don't know if forgettable is the word. It certainly tends to fade into the background at times. I will say, for the first hour, it does seem a lot of times like you get more of a professional call to the match as opposed to personality. And I don't think as of yet the two have really clicked as far as really adding any personality to the call, which it can be, it has its purpose at times, but you need a little bit of both. And if you get too far up the road and you really don't have any of that personality in the team, it becomes forgettable, and you tend to focus less attention on the commentary team than you really should be, which at the end of the day, it's one of those things that kind of happens in the background. But as we talked about, I believe it was last week on here with some of the great commentary teams, how much the little subtle nuances of commentary really adds to a match and really adds to your program.
Yeah, and I would rather have it fade into the background and forget about it than be distracted by it. And again, in that opening match, I was distracted by Storm, gentlemen, Storm, gentlemen, Storm. It was distracting, and it was taken away from the match for me. But again, AJ hot about it because your winner of the match is Bobby Roode. A little bit of shenanigans, if you will, going on with the Cowboy James Storm, coming up to ringside to stop Bobby Roode from using the chair. So Austin Aries walking around backstage, meets up with the Hulkster. Of course, Aries says that I'm a professional wrestler, sir, and I am not a ladder climber. But if he doesn't give back the belt, Hogan was going to strip away his title match. So obviously that sets up your main event. And Kurt Angle walking backstage, giving Wes Briscoe a pep talk as the Stinger walks by. Stinger says Briscoe will be the shadow that watches it. You know what? Enough already. If you're going to keep putting over Wes Briscoe, man, just put the dude in the ring. Let's just do it. I mean, enough with the, just hanging around. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for either Wes Briscoe to step up and do something or move on.
Or has he been in the ring, perhaps under a mask recently?
Maybe. But I need that character, the character of Wes Briscoe, with that face, to do something in the ring. That's what I need.
It just seems like you're seeing him palling around with Angle a little too much here. I know we got it before Bound for Glory, the big promo, and I guess the thought then was it's going to be a big reveal as Aces and Eights at the pay-per-view. But it seems like you're getting a little bit too many segments with him in the background for there not to maybe be some payoff up the road. Who knows?
Right.
Or it could be equivalent to, harkening back to WWE, Michael Tarver walking around in the background with his cell phone for 4 months and never seeing anything from it. So who knows if we'll eventually see anything, but it seems like he's on there an awful lot with this Aces and Eights thing going on to maybe not be little connection there.
Correct. So let's talk about Joseph Park. He is in the ring, and obviously he wants something with Aces and Eights. Well, Bully Ray comes out, and what was your tweet again, Matthew, about Bully Ray tonight?
Something to the effect of the face-o-meter was turned up to 11 with Bully Ray tonight.
Yeah, I think they got to be going some other direction because there's really no payoff to Bully Ray being a consistent, strong face. I like the Bully. I mean, if your name is Bully Ray, be a bully.
Yeah, and just it was so over the top tonight. Something to the tune when he was talking about Park. Oh, you gotta give him a shot. I'm on his side. Gee, golly. And I thought he was still effective, but it just seemed a little bit too overdone for that character. And the last few weeks, the last few weeks we've gotten. He's been in this face role, but it's been solid stuff. It's still been kind of the true Bully Ray character, and tonight it really, really felt a little bit overdone to me.
Oh, golly, geez, Mr. Hulkster, please give the kid a shot. That's exactly how I felt. The payoff of that was, yes, at the pay-per-view this Sunday, Joseph Park will get a match with Aces and Eights. So even though Joseph Park is, quote-unquote, not a wrestler, Mr. Park will be out there wrestling. So I'm glad to see it. Tara and Jesse in the locker room and gloating over the victory they picked up last week over the ODB. ODB yelling, "I love you," into the phone has got to be one of my favorite things to see. I don't know what it is about it. It's not so... I guess maybe it is supposed to be funny, but just going, "I love you!"
Just very passionate woman, it sounds like.
Yeah, but I wonder, the love making, is there a lot more yelling like that? Is that is that the beginning of it, or is that just the top of it, and it's more intimate afterwards?
One would think it might just be the tip of the iceberg there.
Whew. ODB is too much woman for me. But coming up next, she did have a handicap match against Tara and Jesse, and she also got the pinfall as well. So, I have a problem with the flask. When your commentary team tells you that's whiskey in there, I'm kind of a connoisseur. I'm kind of a bar person. Have you ever drank a pink or a reddish whiskey? I haven't.
My first thought, it looked like it may have been some of JR's barbecue sauce in there.
Either that or a Hawaiian punch.
Yeah. That was the first thing that I noticed. Yeah, it was very apparent. That was some suspicious-looking whiskey there.
I mean, it may have came from the bubbler in, what was his name? Deeds, Longfellow Deeds' apartment. Came right from the bubbler. It was very sneaky, sir. And that stain was there all night on that brand new ring tarp that has all these nice little logos painted on it and all these little gimmicks on it. But it is what it is. After the commercial break, obviously she's excited. Of course, they talk about gut check as well. And as you saw in my tweet, quite possibly the biggest, no doubt, the biggest moment of the night. Christian York's going to win his gut check. I mean, this guy has the look. This guy can move. This guy has put in the time. He doesn't act like a kid. This is a professional wrestler. Christian York has won his contract tonight.
Yeah, and I really like the fact that we got 2 consecutive yeses. Now, going back, is that the first 2 consecutive yeses that we've gotten since this gut check segment? Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch because after a while, it does look a bit over-scripted, if you will, if it's always a yes, a no, or a yes. And to have two yeses like that, I thought it was very well done. One of the, maybe the most excited that I've been with a gut check contestant getting through. That's one thing that we've talked about here in recent weeks. Outside of Joey Ryan, a lot of these gut check people have been forgettable because you see the segment and then you don't hear anything else. And this guy, he's somebody who's been out there for a while, so you have a little bit of familiarity with him, which might be part of it. But yeah, you find yourself, kind of rooting for him. In the match last week was excellent. So one of the first gut check segments that I've really had a lot of an invested interest in, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. And they could have even done it even more so with Taz being the last person to vote, because Taz voted, and he had already said when they did the commercial beforehand, it was a no-brainer for him, and you could tell Taz was like the guy. Bruce Pritchard had given his yes as well, and we didn't get a yes or no out of Al. But you know what? It would have made a mockery of the whole process if Bruce or the second person would have said no. You're absolutely right. Yes, and then they could even ask Al. Al, just curious, what would you have said? And they would, yes. I mean, let's just put our stamp of approval on this guy right away and say yes. So I thought it was a fantastic segment.
The Cuffs were back once again tonight.
They were back, and Al apparently looks in the mirror when he chooses that jacket and still chose that jacket.
Yeah, apparently so. But how about Pritchard dishing out fashion advice backstage? Come on,
not
man.
one to do that. Yeah, I don't think that's his realm. And Taz shouldn't be talking about anybody dressing for work, because he dressed like he was going to go get a couple wings down at the local joint. Am I right? I mean, brother, you're on TV. And I was a little thrown off. We know that Taz, had his issues, obviously, during Superstorm Sandy. It didn't need to be brought up in that promo.
Right. No.
Not at all. Also tonight, after the gut check segment, after they talked on the screen, but before the gut check segment, they mentioned when we come back, for the match that we were going to have with Kurt Angle, they mentioned you will be joined by Tenay and Taz. The awkward handoff did not exist on camera today.
No, it did not. That was absent, and you got to think it's because the higher ups are probably tuning into us every Thursday night.
Yeah, that's funny. So it was Kurt Angle and Sting versus Aces and Eights, which was Devon and DOC, the DOC. And again, calling the match was obviously Taz and Mike Tenay this time. So you got your A team and your B team, and the A team was out there for this mini main event. Top of the hour, always going to be your secondary match. Still kind of an odd transition, though, because then you put Taz in the ring afterwards for gut check. You got JB out there. They got to work something out. It's a weird, and JB getting everybody excited. This is gut check. Flash, flash, flash. Blink, blink. Okay, let's talk. Really? That's what that was? You got up there with that big boy voice of yours. Gut check. And then there was like 3 lights. Blink, blink, blink.
You got to build it up.
But after that, you notice the crowd did nothing. I mean, they absolutely went. There was nothing there. So, Don from the New York City said once again the Impact crowd tonight does a disservice to the product. He is asking TNA to move it up to the New York City area. Don, that's not going to happen. But, hey, thank you for that tweet as well. Once again, if you want to get your tweet read tonight, get the possibility to have it read, make sure you're using the hashtag Sudden Impact Radio, or, just send it right directly to me at WCW Meathead, or you can send it to Matthew at The Real M. Thomas. Christian York, he's now a part of the TNA roster. And you know what? I would love to see him get right into the mix with RVD, get right into the mix even with, possibly the TV champ, Samoa Joe. I can see that match. What would you think about a Samoa Joe-Christian York match?
I think it'd be phenomenal. And out of everybody that you've brought up, I don't know of anybody finer to throw right in the mix than York. We've finally gotten Joey Ryan into a program now. So, yeah, throw York in there, and I think the more people that you bring in and you actually start different programs with, I think it gives more credibility to that gut check segment as opposed to passing a bunch of guys through only to, not hearing from them for, because Ryan right now is really the only one that we have seen anything out of up until this point. So, I think the more people you can actually get into relevant storylines, the better it is for that gut check program as a whole.
Well, we are going to see them again. It was announced that there will be a gut check on Thanksgiving evening, and all the previous gut check winners will be on the program. So we will get to see them again. Even the female gut check participant apparently will be there as well, and of course Joey Ryan will be there. So they're all going to be back. Good to hear. The main event of the evening was Magnus, Christopher Daniels, and Kaz versus Samoa Joe, Chavo Guerrero, and Hernandez. On one side, you got three different champions, the tag champs and the TV champ, and then you got the challengers. We talk about it a lot, and I thought this was acceptable for them to mix, two matches from the pay-per-view and put them into one match together. I had no problem with this at all, and I threw this out in a tweet. Watching Daniels go down the ring, he did it last week, and he did it tonight. I'm starting to miss the Curry man. Sorry, Freudian slip.
Yeah, we did get some moves tonight, though. We got a little Gangnam style action. So I was pretty impressed with that. So you're starting to see a little bit of spark. It's nothing to say that maybe we can't have a little hybrid character, a little Christopher Daniels, but a Christopher Daniels that breaks it down from time to time.
Well, great match again. Magnus getting the Aaron Rodgers-esque pin, letting everybody just know it's shh. Getting the pinfall on Samoa Joe before the pay-per-view. I thought it was a great show. And again, the final segment, of course, we talked about in the opening of the program, where Austin Aries sneaks up, knocks Hardy off the ladder, and is standing tall with both belts in hand on the ladder. So overall, again, we both agree. I think we do, Matthew, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but overall we agree that this was a fantastic Impact. Some of the small little things that were misses were was the segment, and again, Matthew, go into a little bit more detail, because I caught it just in the glance. I didn't see the whole thing. But what was with Brooke Hogan and Bully Ray in the background while Austin Aries is walking around? What was that?
It was very weird. We had Brooke on her cell phone, and then a little bit of the Aries interaction with Brooke, and then Bully Ray, and it was just, the camera work was very odd. There's a barbell in the back that has no explanation whatsoever, and the camera jolts from Brooke to Aries to Bully to a tight shot on the barbell. It just, I went back and watched it a couple times, and honestly felt a little bit nauseous every time I did. It was a very oddly put together backstage segment.
Yeah, I also did like the interaction between Halo 4 and the TNA show. What did you think of that?
Yep. No, that actually, the DVR got rewound a couple times on that, because my first thought was, I zoned out a little bit there as it went to commercial, and then I saw that, and of course the first thing that comes to mind is back when they were doing the Jericho End of the World promos. Oh, is this somebody they're bringing in? Is this something that's relevant to TNA? But no, it is a Halo ad. They're actually breaking in to the TNA programming.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastically done, and it was a great way to promote the game. I'm not a Halo guy because I'm not an Xbox guy, but I love the story. The kid has read the books, and I think it's a fantastic story, but I'm not a Halo game guy per se, not a shooter guy. So, again, if you want to interact with the program tonight, the number 347-996-5278 or toll-free at 877-317-9772. We're going to go take a break. When we come back, we'll jump into the phone zone. We're also going to run down the pay-per-view for this Sunday and much, much more. You're listening to Sudden Impact Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio.
On sale right now at PWRshow.com. Get all the latest Pro Wrestling Report merchandise, including the Fella t-shirt. Yabba Dabba Bitch. And the The ever-popular Milwaukee 316 on the front and on the back. All of the pay-per-view events that happen in Milwaukee. Get all this merchandise, including the tremendous t-shirt, and much, much more, available right now at pwrshow.com. pwrshow.com. All the latest PWR gear on sale right now.
You're listening to PWR Sudden Impact Radio, breaking down all that happened on tonight's Impact Wrestling broadcast.
Welcome back to Sudden Impact Radio on Blog Talk Radio. The man they call me dead, Matthew Thomas, talking about Impact tonight. We went off the air with Hardy being destroyed by Austin Aries as he stood, on the ladder over the top of him in the ring, holding both belts. One of them, apparently, Matthew, is going to be turned into a belt buckle. Folks, if you want to interact with the program tonight, and we're going to go into the phone zone in just a second, the numbers, 347-996-5278, or toll-free at 877-317-9772. You ready to go to the phone?
Let's do it.
All right. Sorry, I'm doing the thing on my finger. We're going to go out to the 707. What is your name, and where are you calling from?
What up? This is Ruben out here in Sonoma County, California, wine country, USA.
Ruben, what is going on, and what do you want to talk about tonight?
First, I want to send a shout-out to all the people out there in the New York, New Jersey area. I hope you guys take it easy out there and stay warm. We're praying for y'all, man. Now, let me talk about TNA and the WWE. Now, I know this is supposed to be a TNA show that we're supposed to be talking about, but I got to give these guys some props on what they've been doing. They have been delivering for the last couple months, and they've been putting on a tremendous show week after week, and they've been delivering. They've been giving to us what we've been missing for a long, long time, which is pure wrestling. And you have a little bit of entertainment here and there, but you get solid wrestling from these guys. I love the build they're doing with Aces and Eights. I love what Bully Ray's doing. Like I said the last time I called, he's the best wrestler in the business. Promo cuts, wrestling, everything hands down. And the guy who won Gut Check today, he will be a champion by next summer, I'll bet. Next summer he will be a champion. The only thing that I have a little bit of a problem with was the storyline that they had a while ago with the Knockouts tag team. Now, my understanding was that when Brooke became in charge of the Knockouts division, she told ODB that, hey, you should have a female tag team partner by 30 days. This was 3 months ago. So have they just completely derailed this whole storyline, or are they building it up for something? Because we haven't seen any knockouts since Victoria pinned Miss Tessmacher. And after that, we haven't seen many since then,
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Ruben, again, thank you for the call. That's a great point. And, if I've said this so many times, this just becoming my catchphrase, really. But if we're trying to poke holes in the Swiss cheese that is TNA, Matthew, that's a big one. It's the forgetting about the TNA knocked up tag team champions. The belts are being used right now just to keep ODB and EY story going. And they're going to be on the pay-per-view this Sunday. Apparently, EY is going to be coming, and they're going to have a mixed tag team match on the pay-per-view this Sunday. Now, I highly doubt that it's for the belts, but who knows? They could flip that up. What would you think if they actually said, you know what? I think we're going to put those belts on the line as well. You could tell that it would be a title change.
Yeah, you can. I don't think that is out of the question, especially now with the camera time that Jesse has been getting recently. It wouldn't surprise me in the least now. The whole argument there is basically at that point it really does become a prop. Well, I guess it is a prop right now. You've got it with an intergender tag team there as opposed to a title that actually elevates two females in the division. So hey, I can easily, if not on the pay-per-view Sunday, I can easily see it shifting to Tara and Jessie at some point, just to get a little bit more steam behind Jessie, who's been, who is a focus now.
Yeah, and even if they change the name to intergender tag teams, but the problem with that would be, and this has really happened since the beautiful people have kind of fallen off of TV, because we don't have Velvet Sky anymore. We don't have Angelina Love. We don't have Lacey Von Erich. Where's Madison Rayne been? I mean, where are the girls? And that's why we've really enjoyed the wrestling we've had on TV, because with the exception of a Gail Kim, Tessmacher, Tara, ODB, the girls are gone.
Yeah, and that was a pretty, I hesitate to say significant focus, but that was one thing that TNA did have a bit of depth of a while back, was that Knockouts division, and it definitely dwindled over these last few months.
Yeah, and the girls are gone, so that's probably why we haven't had any focus on the girls. I mean, and Mickie James, where is she?
Yeah.
The girls are gone. We need more of them, but until you get more girls, I don't think there's going to be any focus on the tag team belts, let alone the Divas belt, or excuse me, the Knockouts belt. Let's go out to the 901, and we're going to give this man his usual time, because working man's got to get time on the radio too. From Memphis, Tennessee, it's Curryhead. Go ahead, Curryhead.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up,
Curry? What's happening, Curryhead?
How you doing, Matthew? How you doing, Meathead?
I'm good, man. It's starting to feel winter up here.
Before I start, I want to say this about the girls. What about Rosita? What about Sarita? I need some.
Where are they?
Where are they? Like I always say, you always need some good working girls. You know what I mean, Meathead. You know what I mean.
Of course. Why do you think we went to you next when we were talking about the ladies?
You got that right, because I always think about the ladies. Well, guys, I want to talk about this show. I like this show. This show was a good go-home show to a pay-per-view. They focused on every single match on the pay-per-view, and they made everything important about the pay-per-view. I like how they did the main event. That little thing about that main event. They had the three champions that is not, and they go against the opponents at the pay-per-view. That's the kind of matches that I like TNA about. And like WWE, well, I'm going to do a little bashing right quick. It's stealing this. It's kind of strange to say WWE stealing from TNA, which is opening credit. They know the angle of with AJ Styles. I wonder, is that girl who, what was her name? Who was with TNA?
Who? Claire Hines? Claire Lynch?
Claire Lynch. Yeah.
So Claire Lynch, is she gonna be on? Is she gonna be on? Is WWE has signed her yet?
They already have her. Her name's AJ. It's the same girl.
Oh, but after all that, and then you got a crooked referee that, come on, which is kind of looks like, I'm not going to say his name, but you know what I'm about to say. Go
ahead. I don't need to feed you. Just finish what you got.
And I want to say this. I like the thing what they did to Sting. I like how they're using, I don't know who's been studying biker culture, but there is a good old school biker culture thing using the ball peen hammer for a weapon. For people who do not know, bikers do use ball peen hammers because that's the only legal weapon that the police cannot bust them with for using a weapon, for having a weapon on.
So you are allowed to carry a ball peen hammer?
Yes, you can, because it's a tool. You can buy. It's cheap. You can get it in a hardware store, and bikers used to say they use it to fix their bikes. Don't ask. Really? I gotta tell you how I know this. See, my auntie was a biker chick was an old lady for a biker. And I used to when my old man had to find somebody to babysit. Can you imagine a kid in the 80s, a black kid in the 80s, in a biker house, at a biker club house, being babysitted by a bunch of bikers?
Oh, sure, yeah, I remember. At Curryhead, I was a black kid in the 80s, too.
No, you got to. I can tell you stories about that, but I won't. But I really like these. I like the pay-per-view that's going to happen. TNA for the past, except for that little AJ Claire Danes, which I told you a long time ago, the only thing that came out of that Claire Lynch thing was the tag team titles, and that's the only thing that came out of there was a little revival of the tag team titles. TNA for the past year, since Bound for Glory, when they start moving on to the old school, to the young talent that has been there, the talent that has been there, the TNA originals to get into the main event, has been on fire. They has showed consistency on this, and that's what I want. I want consistency with my wrestling, and they focus on wrestling. It's such that the knockout division is down. You only have basic. You can say 4 women right now that are we have 3 women right now that's in the title picture that's been wrestling for the past 6 months. Now it's 2, and they not doing nothing about that. That's the only thing that I really hate. But everything else, they put emphasis on the television title. That you got Samoa Joe, who is wrestling every night with the belt. He didn't wrestle tonight for the TV title because he got a match and a gimmick match even though it's a gimmick match, but it's a proper gimmick match that I can see. You got the number 1 contender, and they make an emphasis on the number 1 contender. If you win, they doing this like they used to do at old school boxing matches. If you lose, you should go back to the bottom and work your way up, or I don't know if they're going to work. If that person don't have to work his way up to see if he gets a title shot at the end of the year, at the end of the promotional year, or anything like that.
Go ahead. We got to wrap you up here. I want to thank you again for calling in.
You take care, guys. And by the way,
sorry about that, Chris. Go ahead. Sorry about that malfunction on the producer, whoever that guy is, but he hit the button a little too fast. But Curryhead can get a little long-winded, but his points are valid. And the TV title was not defended tonight, but it was because the TV champion was involved in a six-man tag. Are you okay with that? The belt not being defended tonight?
Absolutely. If you're going to put the TV champion in a storyline and try to build a pay-per-view match, I think it seems a little bit chaotic than if he's defending against somebody random the next week. And I do like the fact that this Joe Magnus feud that we're finally getting, it's actually that. It's a storyline. It's a bit of a feud as opposed to a different contender each week. So I think it's a mix and a balance there as far as the TV title goes. If you have it defended each week, chances are it's going to be somebody different each week. And in order to get your TV champion in an actual storyline that you get invested in, you're going to have a few weeks in there where the belt, you're going to hopefully see your TV champion, but your belt might not necessarily always be defended. So I'm perfectly fine with it. And honestly, Joe and Magnus on Sunday, I think, could very easily steal the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the phone for one more call. How about the 708? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, the Scooby from Mayville, Illinois. I gotta say, they need to bring back the women's division. That sucks, but besides that, I think the show is a great show. The heavyweight championship match, I'm not really invested in that, but they didn't really give me nothing besides tonight to really invest in. I'm more invested in a 3-way match. Yeah, like I say, Impact been a pretty good show, but I will say this, at the pay-per-view this Sunday, be prepared for the big reveal, and the big reveal will be Gary Bischoff. Gary Bischoff will be the big reveal. He's going to walk out there with Kurt Angle and Briscoe this Sunday. I'm telling you guys, be prepared for Gary Bischoff.
You keep calling with Garrett Bischoff, and again, thank you for the call. You keep calling with Garrett Bischoff, you might not make it through to this program. I'm telling you what right now, Matthew, if it's Garrett Bischoff, all this praise. I know TNA is listening. All this praise that they've been giving us. Again, we're wrestling fans. We love to be swerved. Let's just put it right out there. We want to be swerved. But don't do Garrett Bischoff.
TNA wrestling, please. He was completely absent tonight, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah. And if I want to surprise somebody at a pay-per-view, I think I might very well keep them off the show, the go-home show entirely. So, I don't know. Scooby might be onto something there.
Scooby might be on some Scooby snacks because it ain't going to be Garrett Bischoff. Let's take a real quick break. When we come back, we're going to run down Turning Point this Sunday on pay-per-view, and we're going to give our final thoughts of Impact tonight. You're listening to Sudden Impact Radio on Blog Talk Radio. Welcome back to Sudden Impact Radio on Blog Talk Radio. The man they call Meathead and Matthew Thomas talking about Impact that went off the air tonight at 9 o'clock Central and 10 o'clock Eastern. But really, we're talking about TNA in general. And Matthew, it is definitely time for the final thoughts on what happened tonight on Impact. Let's talk about the big story, really, and that's going to be the continuation of Aces and Eights. We had a reveal last week of Luke Gallows, now known as the Director of Chaos, the DOC, DOC. He was in his first TNA action, and he tagged up with Devon against Kurt Angle and Sting. It's not the match so much that really was the story here, but it was what happened afterwards. A ball-peen hammer from the members of Aces and Eights, and they beat down Sting. They knocked him over the head, put him through a table, and Sting is down and out.
Yeah, and you want to elevate a new guy. No finer way than to have him beat down a legend like Sting. I thought it looked good. I thought it was very effective. And one thing I want to point out, too, I thought the hammer shots looked great. It's not your traditional, we're so used to seeing Triple H with his sledgehammer holding the top of the hammer and basically not using it like one would use a hammer in a fight. And this hammer, albeit I certainly assume a gimmick hammer of some sort, the hammer shots looked great. I thought it was very effective and just an overall effective image there of Doc, as he's now called, standing tall over Sting, a way to really bring him into the company.
And to endear himself to his other club members as well, his other Aces and Eights brothers, because, again, doctored, gimmicked, whatever you want to call it, most likely rubber, because, you know, the baseball bat is a rubber bat, but definitely a way to lay in good, solid, realistic-looking shots without hurting a man. I love the way it went over. Also, a big main event tonight. We had a six-man tag, two matches from the pay-per-view at Turning Point this Sunday combined together. It was the tag team champions and the television champion, Hernandez, Chavo, and Samoa Joe, taking on the team of Kaz and Daniels along with Magnus. Your winner of the match, Magnus, with a clean pinfall victory on Joe, going shh as we get into the pay-per-view.
Thought the match really looked good. It seemed to have a good flow to it, and a lot of times when they're trying to get different matches, basically some camera time on the go-home show, a lot of times they can look a little bit forced when you throw a few guys in there that are going up against each other at the pay-per-view. This didn't. It looked like two solid, three-man tag teams in there mixing it up. The match got time. It was an overall enjoyable match, and Magnus continues to look strong going into Turning Point.
Yeah, and that doesn't even mean that Joe looks weak. They both are coming out looking the way they should. Also, let's talk about the three-way match that's going to happen at the pay-per-view. Winner will get a title shot. The person that is pinned, the person that loses the match, will be froze out of the title picture in TNA until Bound for Glory 2013. You've got AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, and the Cowboy James Storm. We got a solid match coming up at the pay-per-view.
We do. Very interesting stipulation, actually two stipulations. The number one contender match, but you also have the stipulation that the person who gets pinned cannot get a title shot for a year. So two very interesting stipulations there and several different ways that it can go, but one of those matches that I am greatly looking forward to come this Sunday.
Yeah, we got a definite solid pay-per-view coming up this Sunday. TNA's Turning Point. Don't forget to join us right here on Blog Talk Radio. There'll be a post-show with Damian Nelson and David Hero. It's on Blog Talk Radio Sunday night, 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. Right as the pay-per-view goes off the air, we will recap it for you. Also, don't forget Monday night. The Monday Night Meltdown on the Blog Talk Radio. Damian Nelson, David Hero. And that is our final thoughts. Matthew, I thought, again, we had a great show tonight. I thought it was... watching TNA, in closing, we've said it twice already, but watching TNA is not a chore to me. I enjoy watching it, and I enjoy spending this hour with you and with all of our listeners and viewers and people joining us in the chat room, on Twitter. I enjoy it.
Yeah, they have certainly hit a stride here over the last year or so, and yeah, after each show, it seems like there's this kind of most shows. I mean, like everybody else, they've got their off nights, but yeah, there's always seems to be some type of energy, some type of optimism coming out of a TNA show. There hasn't been many shows in recent memory where you're down on the product or feel exhausted after sitting through 2 hours. The 2 hours actually seem to go by pretty quick, and everything for the most part seems to flow pretty well. Whether it's the main event picture or if it's the undercard, there seems to be consistency week after week that they have delivered here as of late.
Yeah, and I would be willing to bet that there's going to be a Be the Booker from Mr. David Hero this weekend on PWR Prime Time, Saturday night on My 24 here in the Milwaukee area, or on PWRshow.com on the website. But we know that Hero's going to tell you how it should go. Let's tell you about the matches. The main event, the ladder match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Austin Aries going to take on the champion, the charismatic enigma, Jeff Hardy, versus the best man in the world, the greatest man that ever lived, whatever his moniker is. Your prediction, who's going to win this one?
After we got that nice image of the meltdown of the Hardy title, Aries he seems so strong in the ring, so strong on the mic. I can really see them continuing to get behind him as the face of the company for the time being. I'm picking Aries.
I would love to see Aries, all for those reasons and the fact that you can say this in wrestling all day long. Where's the money, Matthew? The money is in the face chasing the heel. That's where the money is. So I would love to see Aries win this as well. The tag team championships are on the line as well. Kaz and Daniels against Guerrero and Hernandez, your current champions, the team of Hernandez and Guerrero. But I'd like to see Kaz and Daniels get the belts back.
Yeah, I would too. I've really enjoyed those two guys together, but with Hernandez and Chavo just getting together, just getting the belts put on them at Bound for Glory, I got the feeling they're going to retain come Sunday.
Yeah, I would as well, and again, that's why I called them winning the belts when they did, because, new team, Chavo's a established WWE star. The company still does that on occasion, takes the name star and puts them out in the spotlight. The three-way match, the number one contenders match, there's a positive and there's a negative. You either A, are going to win the match and become the number one contender for a World Heavyweight Championship, B, you lose and you get nothing happens to you, or C, the worst. You take the loss, you get pinned, you get tapped, you tap out, you will be froze out of the title picture for 1 year. Who you got?
When I look at this match, I look at a couple of different things. I look mainly at who would not having a title shot hurt the least in this match. And I keep coming back to AJ Styles getting pinned by James Storm. James Storm then going into a program with Austin Aries and having an AJ Styles who, for 1 year, is not eligible for a TNA title match and potentially a heel run there.
I see it a little differently, and I use your philosophy, but I go at it like this. AJ Styles would be hurt the most. As much as AJ Styles is the face of the company who's going to take a boot to the face of the company from James Storm, I see AJ Styles getting hurt the most by being pinned. I see Bobby Roode losing the least. And if there's going to be a person that needs to take the pinfall but lose the least amount, I think it's Bobby Roode. I think Bobby Roode can go on and do other things. I think AJ Styles needs to be in the title picture. but I want James Storm to win, and that's who I think is going to win the match out of the three-way. So I see James Storm pinning Bobby Roode and finally putting the end to that feud that's supposed to have ended at Bound for Glory, but we're at a pay-per-view after. Come on, you know how that works. Let's also talk real quick about the TV title. It's going to be Magnus and Samoa Joe. Who you got?
I see Joe retaining. I feel like he's too strong. He's too strong of a TV champion at this point to take it off of him right now.
I think it's a no-doubter. Speaking of a no-doubter, it's RVD winning over Joey Ryan. I don't see the belt going on to Joey Ryan right at the moment. I see it happening about a month away from this. I see this match kind of not being the end to it. I see Joey Ryan either taking it on TV or at the next pay-per-view. But also, we've got Tara and Jesse versus ODB and EY. The Aces and Eights have announced that it'll be Doc, the DOC, Director of Chaos, taking on Joseph Park. And, you've got Devon versus Kurt Angle. So a solid pay-per-view on the paper. I don't have any doubt that the boys and the girls will deliver in the ring. Are you buying it?
Yeah, they have certainly set the stage to make me want to press that buy button come Sunday. So it is a definitive pass and a definitive buy at this point for me.
Folks, make sure you're watching TNA's Turning Point this Sunday live and only on pay-per-view. If you can't get
you're
to
listening
that,
to
make sure you're joining us on Twitter at
Sudden Impact
PWR
Radio.
Show.
Breaking down all that happened on tonight's Impact Wrestling broadcast.
And Damian Nelson talking about Turning Point and the wrap-up for the real Matthew Thomas. I am the man they call me Dad. Thank you for joining us for Sudden Impact Radio tonight. We'll see you guys next week.